Greetings and welcome to Disrupt Your Day Season 2, Emerging Business Culture with Petula Sankarsingh. I am the CEO and founder of VisionReady. Season 2 brings you a powerful lineup of women who dare to be change makers and disrupt your day. Welcome, everyone, to Disrupt Your Day, Season 2, Emerging Business Culture. I am your host, Petula Sankarsingh, and today we're speaking with Amy. Amy is a veteran with the Air Force. She also has worked in a corporate setting, and today she's going to dive into how society views women, the injustice within both of those areas, and she's going to be as honest and raw as she can be. So I'm excited to hear about what her experience as a woman in business, as a Air Force pilot, and in the corporate setting as well. Hi, Amy. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes. We're happy to have you. We're excited about our season 2, and we would love to hear from you and your thoughts on your experiences as a woman.
Yeah, so I did traditional kind of went to high school, went to college, and then I decided to join the military. So that was kind of my first taste of getting into a really gender oriented field. Not only did I go into the military, but I was a pilot. And so the ratio of men to women for pilots is really, it's about, I think at the time, if I recall right, there was like 5,000
Mm-hmm.
total pilots. And I think that less than 10% of them were female. So,
Mm-hmm.
as much as everyone's like, oh, we're living in this world of equality, I would say that yes, I definitely ran across certain individuals that were 100% like, I totally believe that you are just as capable as any of my peers at doing your job. But then there were definitely other people that, I had someone tell it to me like this way that really made sense. They were like, I think you're great at what you do, but you need to know that. So we always flew with different people.
Mm-hmm.
And so this other aircraft commander that was a male, he was like, just so you know, it's just the way it is. Like, I don't know how to tell you that it never will be, but when you show up and they realize that you are a female and that the person in charge of this entire mission is female, they expect you to show them and prove to them that you can run this crew. If you were a guy, it would just be the, hey dude, what's up? No one would care. No, if you were completely incapable of taking this crew and doing a mission, no one's really going to think anything of it. But like you're held to this like higher standard. And so I would say that was the thing that I saw the most. I didn't necessarily feel like I was treated poorly or anything like that. I just feel like
Yeah.
it was more of like prove yourself. And thank goodness I only ran into one instance where I was like, come again. I was doing a simulator. So we have these super cool big simulators that are these big, like giant boxes, and they're up on this huge platform and they're in this huge building and they actually move so you can fly them. And the sim instructors were all like older retired guys they came from an even further back generation as far as tradition goes. But I remember really struggling with one of my instructors who was like, oh yeah, this exercise is hard for you because you're a female and so airplanes have rudders that you have to push on. And when they fail one of your engines, the whole physics behind it makes the airplane really turn and you have to use your leg to keep it straight. And he was like, because you're a female, your leg is just not strong enough. So this is really hard for you. And the gentleman that was flying with me, he was supposed to be one of my mentors. He was teaching me, and So we were flying the sim together, and he just sat back like, why this guy said that. And I was like losing my mind. I was trying to maintain a level of professionalism,
Mhm.
but I think that something that I really learned was
Mhm.
no one's gonna do it for you, and no one's going to stand up for you.
Mhm.
So you got to stand up for yourself. And it can be hard, because if you, like, I reported him and his behavior that I thought was inappropriate to
Mhm.
um his leadership, but
Mhm.
whether or not anyone ever did anything, and I didn't really care. I just didn't want to ever be placed with him as an instructor again. But there's
Mhm.
definitely like that scary thought of like, well, if I say something, then I'm
Yeah,
gonna be,
yeah,
like, you're the
mistreated.
bachacha.
Right. And I think that that's the fear that most women feel, especially like, I mean, congratulations to become a pilot. I heard it's one of the hardest things to do.
That's pretty tough. Yeah.
So yeah, congratulations on that. But even let's say in the corporate setting, right? Um, a lot of women, they want to be in that C level or the C suite or advance or, but they're so afraid to speak their mind, to have a voice because they feel like there's going to be backlash.
Oh yeah. Um, Probably the worst situation that I ever got placed into was actually recent, and it was at my corporate job.
Mhm.
So the place that I work is like a smaller segment of a huge corporation. And we had a culture kind of shift when they hired a specific new guy. And
Mhm.
you can see how, like, if you look back over it, you can see over the course of like 3 years, he was
Mhm.
grooming the females. Like, you can totally see it. But you can also see that a lot of people just tolerated it. And if you brought it up, they were like, "Oh, that's just him. That's just how he is." But it was like you couldn't go to a meeting without him like mentioning his genitals. And so then it got to the point where it was like, well, wait a minute. Why is the head highest guy of this plant is in the meeting hearing this and no one's doing anything? Or you would be in a meeting where HR was in there and they were hearing it. So then how do you dare say anything? And so it kind of actually got completely blown up because my son started working at the same place as me. And this specific person decided to put his hand on my arm and get like all like close to me to talk to me, and my child saw it. And so I think it was a little eye opening for all of us because it got brought up at dinner. And then, of course, it was like, what's going on at work? And my husband knew right away. It was like, oh, it's that guy again. And I sat there for a minute and I was like, wait a minute. Like, this is not how I want my son to portray me, thinking that like my
Yeah.
mom's okay with stuff like this going on. And he started seeing it with other females. And I finally reported him. But in doing so, I
Mhm.
actually had a phone conversation with my previous boss who had
Mhm.
worked with this gentleman as well for a little bit.
Mhm.
And she had moved up and got a job at a different corporate company. But she said to me, I hope you realize what you're doing, because you're really, really shooting yourself in the leg right now as far as your position and job goes, because what you could suffer for this, like, career wise. And I said to her, because she had made a comment about something too, about some of the people that I had just spoken about were her
Mhm.
friends. And I said, you should really get new friends then.
Yeah.
Um,
Good for
but
you.
I was blown away that one of my female mentors was like, "Oh, it's not as bad as you're making it out to be." And I mean,
Oh my
of
goodness.
course, once I raised my hand and I was like, "I'm done." And we actually, here's another thing. Like, if this is happening to anybody or any of you that are watching, you don't have to tolerate it, but don't sit back. If the people like in your local vicinity are doing nothing, yeah, We Googled the head legal person in the company, like the highest legal person in this
Right.
corporation. And we called him and we are like, you need to know this is going on. And it was within like 2 hours, they had taken care of it because they didn't know. The people in my local plant
Mm.
were hiding it all. Anyways, 4 people got released from their positions,
Oh,
and
wow.
it created a huge uproar. But you know what? We don't have to deal with them anymore. And you know, I was threatened by HR. I got told that I might get fired for what I was doing, and I got him fired instead.
Oh my God. That is such an amazing success story, and I love it. Oh my God. Thank you. So that's going to lead me into my question for you. One of the questions I have. So, with that being said, because, I feel like that is steps for making change, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so what work do you think that needs to be done for change in both settings, within the military, as well as, it seems like the corporate setting was actually worse for you, because you said that everyone was just like, oh, it's just him. Even the females were like, why did you do that? Do you realize what you're doing for yourself? We as females, we have a voice, but we just need to be heard, and don't be afraid to be heard. So, what do you think that needs to be changed? I mean, done to for her change to happen?
You know, it gets into that like really slippery place. And to be
Mhm.
honest with you, I try to be really open minded. So I can
Yeah,
definitely see both sides of every situation because
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to be in an uncomfortable workplace either where I'm like, oh, if I accidentally say a cuss word, am I going to get fired today?
yeah, yeah.
But also, people shouldn't have to tolerate certain things. And so here's kind of how I view it. It's like
Mhm.
if you do something or say something and I tell you, like, hey, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't appreciate the way that you just touched my shoulder or the comment that you just made. To me, that's good communication. Then that
Mhm.
person has an opportunity, right? I didn't just like run out and say, get rid of this
Right,
guy.
exactly.
Um, so I think it goes both ways. Like
Mhm.
communicate yourself, like if you don't feel comfortable with someone doing that, and then document everything because
Mhm.
things aren't going to just magically change. But if you get yourself into a situation where you are in a spot where someone has been doing something and you haven't been documenting it, it makes it really, really difficult for you to tread the water because
Mm, mhm.
that's just how it is. And
Yeah.
you know, so just yeah, my advice is have a voice.
Mhm.
Um and stand up for yourself, but don't be afraid of saying like, hey, enough is enough, I'm not going to tolerate this. And definitely get it, always document it with your HR, but document it yourself because
Yes.
we found out when this issue was going on with our corporate company, our HR guy was best friends with a guy that we were having the problem with, and so he had no records of any of us ever
Oh,
talking to him, which is
oh,
why eventually he got, well, not eventually, he also got let go with the same person because there were people that were keeping documented records and he was
mhm.
like, oh, I never talked to them. So you
Oh,
know, but you
document,
gotta,
document, right?
yeah,
And, have a voice. Like, I understand what you said there, don't sit back and let it happen to you. Start document and definitely have a voice. But, in all settings, you have to have some sort of like decorum, some sort of like way of, you're not, like you said, you're not gonna just be cussing,
right,
certain things that's gonna get you in trouble, obviously. It's important just to stay professional, but when people do cross the line, definitely document and have a voice. Thank you for that. So, Amy, so what is something people seem to misunderstand about you?
this people seem to understand about me.
Yes.
um I would definitely say that I have a very, like, I do energy healing and energy
Yes.
work and on the side.
Mhm.
It's my passion. I love my corporate job, but my passion is energy work. And I definitely think that I own it authentically. And if I were to label myself, I would call myself the bipolar healer because honestly, I am the nicest, sweetest person and I will help anyone. But at the same time, if you cross me wrong, I'm like, burn the village.
Oh my
Burn
God,
the
that's great.
village. No prisoners. You've awoke the beast.
Like Game of
No,
Thrones. I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones person.
right? So I'm just unapologetically myself. And I mean, I mean, you can see, right? Like my
Mhm.
personality is me. I own my inner child. I love myself and I will never let anyone take that away from me. And sometimes I feel like people don't understand that. Like
Yeah,
I'm not here to people please anyone anymore.
yeah. Oh, good for you. I love it. So, what is the failure that you most cherish?
Ooh, failure that I most cherish.
Mhm,
I would say when I was a pilot, we have to take these things called check rides.
mhm,
So you go through all your training and then you fly with this examiner and basically go through all this stuff that you're supposed to show them that you can do. And it's pretty it's pretty competitive amongst pilots. Like failing your check ride is
mhm.
really not something
Like,
you want to do.
right.
And so I had been going through like all of my training when I was in college. And I remember that I failed one of my check rides. And it was for something really, because isn't it usually something we look back on? It was something really that I'd never done before. I just
Mhm,
let the stress get to me and I did something. And I really beat myself up over it. And I was
mhm,
so upset that I failed this check ride. And it was a great learning experience for me because I realized, like, no, this is not what this is about. This isn't about, oh, I've never failed anything or ever failed my check ride. It really taught me to like look at it. And I think it helped like the examiner because
mhm,
the thing that I did, which usually when you don't pass the check ride because you're flying a plane, it's going to be something related to safety. And the
mhm.
thing that I did, and he explained it well, and he said, I'm going to fail you because I never want you to really do that in real life because you would die.
Oh,
And I was like,
okay.
ooh, touche. Like, that's really good. And so he was
Yeah.
like, I want you to take this as a learning. Like, you're never, ever going to do what you just did again. And so ultimately, it's really great to look at like, did I really it's fail at something or I
Mhm.
learned from
Yeah, so
something.
it's something you could really I like when they say failure is good, right? But I like when it comes out where you can actually cherish that experience. And yours turned out to be just like that. Thank you for sharing that. So I have one more question for you, and then we'll dive into what you're doing now. So if you could go back 5 years in your life, what advice would you give yourself?
Mm. So 5 years ago was really a bad spot for me.
Mhm.
Um, I was in a really horrifying place.
Mhm.
I had just lost my husband.
Oh.
And then I also, not too long after that, I ended up losing my daughter. So,
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
I'm so sorry.
I, yeah, I would say, if I were to go back and just, I mean, honestly, give myself a hug and just tell myself, like, you can and you will
Mhm.
make it through this because those were some pretty dark moments for me. And
Mhm.
as we'll probably talk about in a second, like, I got really lost trying to do
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to therapy and I'm taking medication. So why do
Yeah.
I not feel like I can get my stuff together? Because I came from, this being a pilot and having my life all together to basically crashing and burning. So
Mhm.
I would just tell myself not to give up. Like
Yeah.
there is a path and a purpose, and I was on it. I just didn't realize at the moment that I was on it. That sometimes,
Mhm.
our biggest trials and our most suffering brings us the greatest growth.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that with us. Ooh, definitely touched my heart. And to see you here today, being so brilliant, you can just tell the resilience and the grit and the powerful personality. So tell us, your bio is amazing, from, being part of, so currently you're founder of Blocked Emotions, right?
Right.
You work for a Fortune 500 company. You have a very diverse background. You're a pilot. I mean, there's so much great stuff, but let's just dive into what your journey holds now and what you're enjoying doing and talk about your business.
Yeah. So when I got really lost emotionally, I accidentally came across energy work and I have a traditional religious background. And so it didn't really feel like the right fit for me. And then out of desperation, I just kept looking into it. And I started realizing like all of the stuff throughout my life that I was taught by my parents who love me and the school system had really like squashed my true personality. And so when I started really healing from the inside and realizing who my authentic self was, not trying to be someone for everyone else, I started being able to help other people. And then I realized really quickly that like, wow, I can only have so many sessions with people a day. I only have so
Yeah.
much time. So then I started teaching, which I would say is definitely my passion.
Mm.
And I was able to then incorporate that into creating my purpose, which was watching other people start to love their authentic self. Because
Mhm.
we all know, and I see it all the time. Like I'll meet people and they look like they've got it all together. And then behind closed doors, they're like, so I hate my spouse. We don't sleep together. My kid's
Mhm.
in jail. My dog got hit by a car yesterday. Like
Yeah.
we're all just dealing with so much stuff. And I'm like, just let it go, bring it out, let it go. So helping people through like their messy messes is definitely my purpose. And so that's what I do now. And I expanded and
Mhm.
took all of the stuff that I've learned, like the millions of dollars that I've invested learning how to do what I do. And I created a soul centered academy. So now other people can, purchase a course and learn to do what
Yeah.
I do. And it's just awesome. It's awesome getting messages or emails from people telling me like, oh my gosh, I didn't even be 100% honest, but when I first met you, I, really wanted to smother myself in a pillow. And now I'm so happy. And it's awesome. Like there's no better feeling than watching
Oh.
people go through that transformation.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, you seem like you have an amazing business, amazing direction, and you're helping others. That's always a passion of mine as well. You also do something called human design chart, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell us what that is, because I don't think a lot of people know about that.
Your human design. It's like your soul blueprint. And a lot of people are into like astrology, which is really
Mhm.
is actually part of the human
Okay.
design.
Okay.
But when you're doing astrology, there's like 12 gates that we fit ourselves in. And so I don't know about you, but like if I read my horoscope, I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I can see some of that.
Yeah,
But
I
when
do.
you do, yeah, when you do your human design chart, it's really amazing. It takes not only your genetic makeup, but the things that you inherited from your parents, but it also takes into account these really cool little teeny tiny particles that are called neutrinos that are like basically floating around that are they're big enough, they have mass so they can absorb energy from things, but they're small enough that they can pass through anything. And
Mhm.
so the whole philosophy behind your human design is that also when you're born, you're imprinted with energy from all of the stuff that's going on outside, like planet wise and all
Yes.
that jazz. So it takes astrology and just puts it together with all your genetic stuff and it gives you this really cool looking blueprint, but then you
Mhm.
can see like positions of where energies are within yourself and it's
Mhm.
almost like you're reading a book about yourself and
Oh
instead of
my
being
God.
it's so cool. So instead of being frustrated with things
Mhm.
that you do, you're then like, oh, that's why I do that. And then there's always like a strategy that you create because that instead of so, like, one of the things that I do is when I get into a group of people, I tend to interrupt everyone because my
Mhm.
brain is going really fast. And it used to just drive me crazy. And I would be so hard on myself, like, shut up, stop over talking people.
Aw, mhm.
But then I realized that it's actually one of my channels in my design that makes me do that. And so now that I'm aware of it,
Mhm.
it just makes it easier for me to not do it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm not beating myself up over it. But I
Mhm.
also realize that some of that is because other people at the table, they have an energy channel that they aren't very vocal. And so their energy actually can connect with you and they're in a way using you to voice their thoughts. It's
Oh, that sounds
absolutely,
amazing. I'm gonna have to get one done.
yeah, it's
So
crazy amazing, but it makes you
yeah.
understand your kids, your spouse, like you
Oh.
understand why people do what they're doing instead of being frustrated with people. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, That's why you're
Oh,
doing it.
yeah, it's like brings clarity for everything, every aspect of your life. I love it. So, Amy, tell us where people could reach you to if they want to inquire about this and other your other services as well.
Yeah. So the main spot that's easiest to just see all of my stuff is
Mhm.
blockedemotions.com. That's my website, and it has
Okay.
links to all of my other things. So you can get to the Soul Centered Academy, which is where all the courses are, but it's got
Mhm.
my Facebook pages. I
Yeah.
always go live on Mondays and
Oh,
do,
you do? Okay, we'll have to
yeah,
connect with you.
I always do free trainings on Mondays. Because I love to teach and I love to give. And I understand too that not everybody's in a financial position to do like personal sessions. So I'm always trying to just give out as much information as I can.
Mhm. Oh, amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, all Amy's information and everything she's offering, she also has a special happening, will be in the description. Please continue to follow us, be part of our journey. We will follow you as well, Amy. And thank you for those who tuned in today. And yeah, don't forget, we're game changers and disruptors. So talk to you soon. Thank you, Amy, so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and letting us disrupt your day. Make sure and subscribe to our podcast. For the latest entrepreneur buzz, please sign up for our newsletter. The link is in the description. Remember, be the change you want to see in the world. Until next time.